All right. Good morning, everyone. So we'll be starting exactly 10 minutes past 9. So that will be in another 4 minutes. So let's just wait for a few more people to come in. All right. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I mean,
Good morning once again. Um, Welcome to today's class, and we will be moving forward with the design theory like we started yesterday. So before we go into today's class, I want us to do a short recap of what we did yesterday, talking about the principles and the fundamentals of design. And yesterday's class was quite interactive. Everyone had multiple things to say about the principles and the fundamentals, how they understood it, which was very impressive. So for today, we'll just do a short recap, right? So that for people who didn't really meet the beginning of the class yesterday, they can as well take this opportunity as a sorry, as a rerun, even though these slides will be shared to you as well. So all right, let's go real quick into it. So I'm going to go through the principles as quick as possible. We talked about why the principles are important. And then, of course, we talked about graphic design because, I mean, you cannot just start talking about the principles of a thing without even knowing what that thing is, right? So we started by saying graphic design is simply the use of text and graphics to communicate ideas visually. And if you see communication right there is highlighted, visually is also highlighted, which means that it has to do with something you see. And it also has to communicate, you know. I also pointed out that if your design is not communicating anything, you failed, or that design has failed, right? So as a designer, your core priority is to communicate visually using text and graphics. And I mentioned what that means, right? So, and I said the principles of design are set rules, right? They they help you to put the right things in place, put the right things in check, and they transform your design both aesthetically and communication wise, right? And I said we're going to look at seven, and we actually looked at seven, even though we had balance, which was a reoccurrence in the fundamentals as well. So we started with unity, which is simply put as one of the answers given yesterday. It brings harmony to your design, simply brings harmony and variety to your design. It is that simple, right? As you can see here, same color, unity, same size, unity on the other side of the screen. Different size, variety, different colors, variety. So that's how unity works. Very simple, straight to the point. Then we talked about balance, which is more like the reoccurring um reoccurring guide between principles and fundamentals. And it's the same across board really because it helps you just put perspective. It just maintains an equilibrium on different aspects of your design. Remember, I mentioned that if you move into a new apartment, you do not move all your furniture to one side of the apartment and leave the other part empty. Except, of course, you want to divide it into two, but it wouldn't make any sense, right? So you put some on the left hand side, some on the right hand, some on the top part, you know, so that there is a balance across board. And it also helps the eye. So it's the same in design because design is in everything we do, in everything we see in reality. There's design everywhere. I'm sure when you look at your computer, you could see a design of a keyboard, a design of a mouse, the design of a screen, you know, your mobile phones, they all have. So design is everywhere. So that's why balance is important. And if you look at your mobile phone, the top part of your mobile phone is not heavier than the lower part of it because it needs to have what? Balance. So then these were the two major examples that I shared from yesterday for balance. I think in the fundamentals, we had a business card that showed this symmetrical and asymmetrical. If you look at the left, you can see that all the shapes are aligned 50-50 on both sides. But the asymmetrical balance takes a very large chunk of maybe the space for one item and then shares the other sides, which is what we call a ratio 60-30-10. So, which is what you see, right? Then we moved on to hierarchy, which is one of the very interesting principles. I think it might be my second favorite, but I don't know. Hierarchy majorly is just arranging items in order of importance in your design from what the audience needs to see first to what they need to see next to the next, and just from order of importance in priority, just from big to small, from small to big, like that hierarchy. Like you can see here on the left side of the screen, there is absolutely no hierarchy. You can't tell what's important from what. You cannot tell what is bigger than what, and you cannot decide which one you see first because everything is in your face, right? And they are the same size. But on the right-hand side, you can see that the top part is bigger than the next one. And then there is a red, which means that that's like a focal point. And so the size varies around the different elements, giving you the perfect understanding of what to look out for next and what to look out for first, right? Then contrast. Contrast is also very sweet. Is majorly, as you see on this page, a white space and a red shape. That is it. Contrast just creates a pop effect. It helps the design pop. It is just really good to have contrast in your design because for it to communicate, it needs to be readable, it needs to be legible, it needs to be accessible, right? So apart from hierarchy creating that order of things to follow, contrast helps you to keep the things in perspective. So it is easily the difference between two or more objects in a design. Like I said, the white space on this design and the red shade shape up above. If you also look, you can see that there's a white text, bunch of white text on the red shape. That's contrast. If I use a black color, still contrast. But imagine if I put maybe a blue, maybe a green on top of this, there will be an issue. That will be anticlimactic or anti-contrasting rather, right? So it's that simple, really. These are examples here, as you can see. Contrast in shape, contrast in color, contrast in scale, contrast in layout as well. So contrast goes across board. It could be in any, could also be contrast in font. Do you get? So the next one was emphasis. Emphasis, I think, is as easy as the name sounds, right? And I gave you an illustration yesterday where I said, imagine walking down the hallway, and at the end of the hallway, there's a painting with red shape on it. Immediately you get to that hallway and you look straight down, the first thing you see is that painting. Why? Because that's the thing that has the emphasis. And emphasis work as a principle that creates focal points. It just shows you that this is what you should be looking at, and you go right there. take a look at this hierarchy on the right side of the screen, you can see that every other thing has like blue and dark gray and light gray, and then you can see red. The first thing you see is the red. That's the focal point. So that is how emphasis work. It is that simple. And emphasis, as interesting as it sounds, it doesn't just work in color. It could be the position of an object, it could be the size, it could be the weight, it could be the color, the shape, or even the style, right? So it could be anything. Just the way you can see that the word emphasis here is bigger than the rest of this. Simple. In size, right? Now take a look at these examples. I'm sure you're looking at them straight away, you can just tell that the emphasis is on the right shape. It just helps you create a focal point. Even if I wanted to pass on information and I just put the information where these red shapes are, that would be the first thing you see, because that's the place I'm laying emphasis on. So then we talked about scale. Just like the name implies, scale is just majorly an element of it's for sizing, really. It's just to size elements, make them very big or very small or bigger than life, just rearrange elements in your design according to size, really. See these examples. Size, ratio, division. Remember I mentioned ratio when I said 60, 30, 10. Same thing applies. So look at, you can see, yeah. So some people call it proportion, but I think scale is easy and very straightforward to understand, because we use the word scale a lot. Say scale it to be bigger, scale it to be small. You don't say proportion it, you get. But sometimes people misuse both of them while they say scale it to proportion. I do not blame them. They probably just don't understand that they might be talking about the same thing. But you know better, so use the right one. You can see on the left side, sizing. It goes from small to big, from big to small. Ratio, the same, just reduce, just in different sizes. Then division, like I said, 60, 30, 10. So then we talked about repetition. Repetition is in everything that we see majorly. Just like I used an example of Ankara yesterday. I said the Ankara design that you have or the material that you wear is probably just a single design repeated all around the fabric. That's what created the pattern that becomes the Ankara. Same thing for Adire and other kinds of material, but repetition is majorly used for pattern. But it could be, you could repeat a text, you could repeat color, you could repeat an object, you could repeat forms, shapes, anything can be repeated. See an example. These are all repeated. Just one shape repeated across board. This is what repetition looks like. So that pattern, in fact, I think I'm wearing something that has repetition all over it. So that's good as well. Then my very favorite principle of all, white space. Somebody's wondering, why would you love white space? Well, I love white space. It's my choice. But when we talked about this, it was quite interesting because we concluded that white spaces are not necessarily white, and white spaces can be called negative spaces. Also, stating that the space is not just empty, but effectively empty, which means that it is a useful empty space, right? It's not just a space that, oh, I forgot to put something there, or oh, I would have, but no, it's a negatively is just a negatively is a effectively empty space. The space is effectively empty. So, and it comes in a lot of ways. So, and we had this brilliant example from Apple, just introducing the iPhone 15 Pro, titanium, blah, blah, blah. But you get the idea. This is a very good description of white space. You can see how the space is clean, but you can also tell that this space is not wasted. It is effective with the kind of design because it creates obscurity for this product rather. So that was all for the principles of design. And then we say, why do the principles matter? And I explained to you that for every design, every element, in fact, everything in creativity, these principles apply. I also mentioned that in photography, and the likes. Every piece of a design work is made up of design elements and principles. When the principles are combined and used correctly, mark the word correctly, a design commands your attention and it is hard to ignore. Then we moved into the fundamentals of design, which are very important. Now, fundamentals of design, like I said, have been used because they are foundational elements or foundational tools. They've been used from time immemorial, let me put it that way, where some people say 90 kokoro. So it's been used for a long, 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 long time. From days of fine art to now that we have web design and everything, they've always been, these fundamentals have always been in place. And we also, sorry, whoever that is. So we also talked about how the fundamentals work and the different kinds of fundamentals that we have, which is line, shape, form, texture, and balance. And this image is quite interesting because I showed you here that you can see lines, you can see shape, you can see form, you can see texture, but you can't see balance. But if you look closely, you see that balance is what is holding all of them together. And that's how it works. Remember, I said balance. I mentioned balance from the principles. Yeah. So we have balance over here again. So lines, we said lines can be straight, dotted, wavy, and more. Lines can also be repeated to form a pattern, as you see here. Lines can also be used to give emphasis or decoration or direction, right? You can have weight, lines can have colors, lines can have texture, and lines can also have style. Then we moved into shape, which I said is majorly any two-dimensional area that has a boundary. A boundary means nothing can go out or nothing can come in, as you can see here. And I gave a very good example where I said, if this circle you see on the screen doesn't have like a complete covering, like the arrow shaped around it, it is not a shape. It is a line. Do you get it? Once it doesn't have a boundary, it's not regarded as a shape, it's a line. Because the shape covers the entire space, right? And we know the basic shapes that we have, the circles, the squares, the triangles, trapezium, polygon, and all the likes. Those fall into the geometric shapes. And then we have, of course, the organic shapes. I'm sure most people didn't know that the heart sign is a shape. They thought it was just love, but it's an organic shape, right? And those shapes are created by people like you and I, even though the geometric shapes are also created by people like you and I. But yeah, so um, sorry about that. So The geometric shapes are regular. Somebody mentioned yesterday, I think it was Shegun, that the geometric shapes are like the shapes we have in mathematics. I think that might be Matthew, are the kind of shapes we have in mathematics that we're familiar with. And the organic shapes, which are free form, are shapes you draw with your hand freely. You don't need a ruler because it doesn't need to be equal and all that. You get. Um, then we also identify that shapes are everywhere around us, from the fuse box to the socket on your wall to the wall clock, circle shape or square shape, whichever kind of wall clock you have, to the icons on your phone. Even the emojis in your chart are made of shapes. The street sign, as you see, stop, go, children crossing, all of that, they are all made of shapes. The arts that you see in art galleries or in the movies or newspapers or magazines, they are all made of shapes. Everything you see on a website has their own peak as well from shape. Then we went into form, where we said any two-dimensional um, drawing or illustration can be given form. And what does that mean? It means that if you give it a shadow, if you give it perspective, if you give it light, you can create the illusion of a three-dimensional object, like you can see the image right here. Then we said form brings about realism, right? The light, the shading, the style create that realness. And this was a very good example where we talked about taking off the shadow from the teacup, and it might just be floating, or you might not really tell what's going on there. But looking at it, you can tell that this has a balance, because that shadow gives it the feel that it's sitting on something, even though it's an enormous white space, right? Then texture. And we made a joke from the fact that this guy cannot touch the cactus plant while it was in real, but did that in the illustration. And the illustration just shows you that this stuff in real life has pattern or has texture, right? That's where those dots on the illustrations come in. So that's what texture really is. And then texture can be smooth, it can be rough, it could be hard, it could also be soft, and the like. And as everything, we also mentioned that too much texture can be overwhelming. Do not try that. If you do the first option, right, you see on the first screen on the left, just the texture in the background and everything is good to go. But you see that this one has the texture in the background, texture in the shape, texture on the text, texture, and they end up having something that's not so good. Then balance, the guy that appears twice. And I said anything that appears twice or any instruction given twice is very, very important, or should I say of vital importance. So balance comes in color, size, number, negative space, and the like. And I also mentioned that the design world is full of examples. You are never alone in the design space. And I said the best place to go is where? Pinterest. Everything you need in design is on Pinterest. Then, of course, the symmetrical and the asymmetrical balance examples. This is a business card. You can see this is a very good design. Then you can also see this is a very good design as well. Even though I'll pick this over this, I'm sure you do the same, but you can see the difference. This is asymmetrical. This is just aligning the objects evenly on different parts. This is just aligning the same objects on the same parts, just taking it into consideration. Yeah, and then we went into rule of third, where I said this is also on your cameras, on your mobile phones, except you deactivate it in the settings. But it is very good because it just tells you that where an image needs to be placed because the human eye goes from left to right. Okay. And then we say putting it all together is like this, the big picture. Shape, form, balance, texture, line. This is what they look like. And I also gave you an example by saying our fonts are made up of lines. Our fonts are made up of lines. Okay. Then we talked about these very interesting examples and we had a lot of fun doing all of that. We asked questions and then we called it a day. So for today, we will be talking about type. So before we go into that, I hope everyone is clear on all of that we talked about. You could just text in the chat box to say clear. But even if you're not clear, we'll just have those questions, at the end of the session. But in the meantime, let's move quickly into what we have for today. So typography. Good, thank you, Shegun. Typography. I'm sure you've heard the word type. Very good, thank you, Joshua. I'm sure you heard the word type. You've heard the word typography before. And you might probably be wondering, so typography, what does it mean? Type, what does type mean? Typography is from the word type, of course. This is what typography is. Like I said yesterday, design is in everywhere we look. And same goes for typography. In fact, we use typography in our everyday life. Without typography, some of us will cease to exist. Some people that cannot do without chatting. Typography is what you chat with. Hello. So if we take off typography, how would you chat? With emojis? Maybe. But then typography is very important. It's in the book that we read, the websites that we visit. It's in everyday things that we use. The street sign, the bumper stickers, packaging, typography is everywhere. Simply put, typography is the use or is the style or appearance of text. Type, text, what does that mean? Typography is the appearance of text. It can also be referred to as the art of working with text, which I said is something you do all the time. From your documents to your charts to your projects at work or school, or maybe you're just writing out your goals for the year, We use typography a lot. And text is made up of letters, the A, B, C, D alphabets, So that's what makes up text. So typography is the style or appearance of those alphabets, which combined together makes a text. Okay? Yeah. You see that typography is everywhere. This person said, I love dogs. Stop, start, move, don't move, wait, name it. Chocolate, thunder, chunks, bite size, whatever. Typography is everywhere. Your favorite snack, your favorite movie, typography is everywhere, really. Now, typography breaks down into fonts, right? Because you might be wondering, how did we go from typography to fonts? Let's put it this way. Typography is a tree, a very big tree, like probably a baobab, right? And it has branches, and those branches are called fonts. Now, if you notice a tree that bears fruits, the fruits are coming from the branches, not not the main tree itself, but from the branches, right? What does that mean in this space? It means that typography to fonts, the fonts now have different kinds of fonts to use the common types. And these common types now have more. That's where we now get into the different names of fonts that we get, from the Gotham to Gilroy to Montserrat to Black Bell to Times New Roman, Myriad Pro, Metropolis, Railway, Ojuju, Lover's Quarrel. You know, I could go on with names, but all those names, like I said, are those fruits from the branches called fonts. So let's go into the common types of fonts so that you get to see what I'm saying clearly. So we have three major types. I said three major types because from display, there are other ones they call there's a name for that now. The script. Script is on that display, right? The script is on the display. For serif, we now have what we call modern serif. Those are those fonts that have lots of ligatures and swatches. We'll get to that, okay? Then sans serifs, I think there are a few modern sans serifs as well. So, but the three major kinds, common types of fonts: serif, sans serif, and display. So typography, as you see written up there, can be intimidating as a subject, but don't worry, I'm here to help you demystify that. All you need to do is just know the common types of fonts and how to combine them. So we start with serif. Serifs have little strokes that are called serifs. You see this? Let me quickly go into let me help you out here real quick. So you see this, 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 those are serifs. Those are what serifs are called. Now, if you take off those serifs, what you then have is sans serif. We'll get there, right? Now, serifs are traditional looking classic fonts. If you check your newspaper, if you do buy newspaper or come across any, you see that the fonts used have serifs. That is a Times New Roman or maybe an English Gothic, you know? So serifs are majorly used for publications, for classical events, for maybe wedding invitations or meetings, magazines, newspapers. That's what serifs are majorly used for. This is an example of what a serif looks like. This is a different serif. This is another one. Then sans serif simply means without serif. You know, I just told you just now. So look at the signs on the text. You see those serifs being taken off. When you take them off, you have sans serif. They don't have the extra stroke, which is where they got their name from. And it's simply a French word for without serif, right? The style is considered more clean, more modern than the other brother, serif. And it tends to be easier to read. In fact, now that we're talking about typography, if you notice my slides, you see that the fonts are very clean and easy to read. This is a sans serif font. This text you see are examples of sans serif. Strict and simple. that explains it for you because it's what? Easy to read. Okay? You use them for that's the same kind of fonts on your mobile phones. That's the same kind of fonts on your computer. Um, because people read a lot using these devices. So sans serifs are always advised to be used. Um, with the example you see up there on the website, you can see it's readable on a bigger screen, readable on a smaller screen, and even readable on a more smaller screen. That's the benefits. It has legibility and readability. Then display. I'm sure looking at it, you can already tell that this one Jangwa Justice, but anything is possible, right? And you can actually use it to your benefit. But display fonts, like I said, comes in many different types. Like I mentioned before, scripts. So there's black letter, there's all caps, and sometimes it could just be plain fancy, just plenty elements all over the place. Don't the major way to use display fonts is not to overly use it. Is to probably use it as maybe a header or just for someone's name. Remember, like I mentioned in when we're talking about serif, these are also used for wedding invitations, for magazine titles, movie titles, you know. Now, take a look at this. So these are decorative fonts. Battle of the Bands look just like a paintbrush. It's a decorative font. Yoga looks more like a black letter or all caps family. Decorative. So you see that there's a mixture of the decorative up here. There's a mixture of the decorative up here, right here. This is decorative. This is sans serif. We'll get into the mixing of fonts in a bit, but what I'm trying to tell you is don't use decorative fonts all over your text or all over your project. You can only do that if it's for a title poster like this one that says Battle of the Bands. You can just do Battle of the Bands straight up, same decorative text. So because decorative fonts are decorative in nature, or should I say because display fonts are decorative in nature, they are best for small amounts of text, like I said. Don't use them for everything. Just put it a little. So now we've talked about serifs, sans serifs, display, which has decorative scripts and the likes fancy all together in one place. Now, how do you choose the right fonts to use? How do you tell that, okay, I'm working on this project. The project has to do with maybe a movie or a corporate event or a dinner or maybe a child's birthday. How do you um how do you choose the right fonts to use? Fonts have their own language, so they all have something to say, right? As you can see, casual up there, neutral, you can see exotic, you can see graphic. Now, graphic falls under which category? Display. Exotic falls under which category? Sans serif. Neutral falls under which category? Serif. Casual falls under which category again? Display, right? So you have to put that into context. Now, another thing to note is they speak a language. They all have different languages. You can't use this graphic font to send a message to your mother saying, I love you. When she sees it, she'll be wondering, is this Halloween or what kind of love is this? right? You can also use neutral to write I love you to your mom. She's wondering, why is this love so serious? So you have to be able to understand the language of the font when so that you can decide which font to go for, right? So fonts come in casual form, neutral form, exotic, or graphic. That's why it is important to think about your message before you choose. So now let's move on. Okay. Now welcome to a short induction. I want to induct you into fonts that you would not like. I know you don't know about them, but now you know, and now you choose not to like them because I say so. Don't mind me, just kidding. Anyway, but these fonts right here they are just very old fonts that people just don't like for no reason. As I'm talking to you, I don't like them, and I don't even know why. But they are old. That's the reason. They're very old, and they are better looking fonts and better options to use than this. Comic Sans tops the charts for the most hated fonts. Now, interestingly, as much as we hate these fonts so much, there was a major movie release from years back, and in fact, it was still released. There was still another release last year, I think. The Avatar movie, not the animated one that was created into a movie, the Avatar, the one with the blue characters. They used this font Papyrus for the name of in that poster. This was the font used, Papyrus. And you might be thinking, what? It caused the uproar in the design space. People were like, no, why would they do that? And all of that, but who cares? It works for them, so they use it, right? So, like I said, these fonts are just outdated and overused. So people just run away from them. And some other people just dislike them because somebody told them that they didn't like it. So now, like I said, I welcome you to also not liking them. Okay, so now let's combine fonts. Remember, we talked about not using decorative or display fonts across board, which means that you have to combine it with something. And the example we saw that there was a decorative header and sans serif on the other part. Now, take a look at this. I'm sure you can see two different kinds of fonts on this page. That is what combining fonts look like. So what happened here is this first paragraph is a sans serif font. This second paragraph here is a display font, which is under the family of script, right? So when deciding which fonts to use, less is more. In fact, less is more in everything in design. When deciding what color to use, less is more. When deciding fonts to use, less is more. When deciding elements to put in your design, less is more. That less is more is what creates that white space we talked about yesterday, right? So sometimes try repeating one font in just different sizes. If you paid attention to the slides from yesterday, you see that in one font there might be some that are bold and has color, which is creating emphasis. That's the same one font. All that happened there was just bold and not bold, right? The trick is, okay, this trick is practically foolproof for creating interesting combinations that work. I'm sure you can already see the combination is working. You probably heard that opposites attract. The same is true for fonts. Direct opposite attracts. Don't be afraid to combine font styles that are different. But make sure, did you see that word but? Make sure that they are complementary. Like sans serifs with serifs, short with tall, or decorative and simple. Or if it's challenging, just go on Pinterest again Just look to other designs, for example, and you get the hang of it. So this is a very good example here. Look at this. Droid serif is used for old-fashioned shortcut. Lato is a sans serif font. Lato is used for ingredients, but the Lato used for ingredients is bold. The same Lato is used for the listing of the ingredients, but it is regular. So fonts have this thing that they call family. So there are fonts that have bigger families, there are fonts that have smaller families, and there are fonts that are single. Yes, you heard that right. So for a font like Lato, Lato has a big family. So Lato has regular, medium, it has thin. In fact, let's start from there. Lato has thin, it has regular, medium, then there's semi-bold, then there's bold, and there's extra bold, heavy, or black. So it goes. Some of them have longer and larger families, like Helvetica, like Montserrat. So the names continue, the family gets bigger. But yeah, now take a look at this. The first book says, "You do you. Tips for following your bliss." Ooh, sounds like a very good book. What happened there was regular and italics. Remember, I just mentioned to you regular, medium, and all that. Yeah. So this is where it comes to play, regular and italics. And every of those options that I mentioned, from regular to medium to bold, extra bold, they all have italic. So it's always a straight version and an italicized version. Italics is just the version that is going this way. So you get, as you can see, it's just bent. Also, not all fonts have italics. Not all fonts have that. So in case you want to use italics, you can look for a font that has italics. In the next option, you can see a serif. Did I say serif? A script, just like the one in my slide here, used to say "Woe is me" by Eric John Rush. That's a book as well. And they use complementary colors for that, you can see. Then the last one here, all caps and lowercase. "Here comes the sun," J.M. Ballantyne. Very, very good combinations. Remember, I mentioned that tall and short is a good combination. Now, "Here comes the sun" is a tall font. It goes all the way up. But J.M. Ballantyne is just a regular font, short. So that's a good combination as well. This is script, which is under display, and this is serif. The name Eric John Rush is serif. The name of the book is made of script. This is how you combine fonts that work. And I also said, if you're having an issue, just look for a design inspiration somewhere and use, okay? Now, there are other important terms that you need to understand when using typography, because I'm sure you are already enjoying it and feeling like, okay, I think I understand this better now. I could go do something with it. But maybe you've heard the terms like kerning, terms like leading, tracking, and even hierarchy. Of course, you've heard hierarchy. Of course, you've heard hierarchy, but kerning, leading, and tracking. Um, for those with more experience in design, these are very easy when you're creating professional looking designs. But for those of us that are beginners like myself, yes, I'm a beginner too. You don't need to know everything. We all don't need to know everything. Just know the one that works for you. Just look for one or two just get a little or enough information to keep you updated in the space. And information is very good for your confidence as well, right? Now we start with hierarchy. Hierarchy is used to guide the reader's eye, like we know, because it just tells you what is big, what is small, and what goes next. You can see the difference. You can see the hierarchy in this slide already. The text hierarchy is big and used to guide the reader's eye to whatever is more important is small, smaller than that. And then the one underneath is even more smaller. In other words, it shows them where to begin and where to go next. Imagine if I read this first, then this, and then this. That's how you read it. But without writing it, that's what hierarchy does, right? Take a look at this business card. Myriad Pro Gold is the name, is what is used for the name Kenya Reed. Myriad Pro Semi Extended is what is used for the title Web Designer. There you can see Myriad Pro Regular is what is used for the contact details. Like I said, if you use one font, but in different variants or different thickness, that's the perfect example you see right in front of you here. Okay, so establishing hierarchy is simple. All you need to do is decide which elements the reader should notice first. Do you want them to notice your name first on a business card or your contact details first? So, and just do that and just increase bold, italicized with color or anything that works really. It just helps you stand out. Okay. Now, leading, as you can already see here, leading is the space between lines of text, also known as line spacing. For those of you that did Microsoft Word computer desktop publishing course, you would have seen in Microsoft Word line spacing 1.5, line spacing 2, and all that. The same thing applies. This is it right here. The space between leading and the other text is what is called leading, right? Take a look at this. If you're not sure of how much line space to use, don't worry. There's always a default line spacing for all text. All fonts have default line spacing. All fonts have default line spacing. So you can always use the default. And it's usually good to go. Except you feel like, okay, I think I need a better or a little more adjustment to the line spacing. I need it to be a bit smaller. I need it to be a bit thicker. Then you could reduce or increase the size. But as you can see on this book, the text up here, the line spacing is too little. That is why it's unpleasant to read. It looks crowded. It looks crunched in. It doesn't help for readability. Line spacing helps for readability. Now, tracking. Tracking is the overall space between characters. So when I want to spell your name, let me say Shegun. Segun. The line between each character is called tracking. It's that simple. If your name is Ben, Ben, the line between each character, that's what tracking is. Now, these terms are important, right? But you don't have to put their names in your head or try to worry about them. Reason is they come in default form, which means that only when necessary would you have to edit them. If your line spacing, like I said, is not good enough, you just edit it to be good enough. Tracking is usually okay. But if you look at my slide, you will see that this text up here that says other important terms has more tracking compared to this one here. That's because this one has the tracking here has been edited. The tracking on this text has been edited. You see, so only in rare cases that you use tracking. You cannot use this style to write a book. I mean, you'd be ready to make a 10-page or 50 pages into 500 pages with this style. So sometimes it's called character spacing, like I said, from your name, just the spacing between the characters. Like you can see the space between T is different from the space between A and C. Space between K and I is different from the space between I and N. So it differs within the alphabets. Sometimes it could be the same depending on the kind of font, right? So it's either you close the space in or you expand the space out, which is what I did for this text up here. Now, these are very good examples to look at. The text down here that says annual report has the tracking adjusted. The text here that says Cafe Citron has the tracking adjusted as well. This one is expanded, this one is compressed in. You can see the difference now. And you can also see that this is a tall font and this is a short font. Examples of this is, for this tall font, an example is Bibas, an example is Wandera, an example is Heading Now. For annual reports, and this already looks like Montserrat or Gilroy or Century Gothic or Gotham. So these are examples to pick from. This is a sans serif font, and this is also a sans serif font. But the difference is this is tall and this is short. Okay. This is the script font and this is the modern font. You get the idea. So in some design, you can just adjust the tracking to create the effect that you want, like I said, which is what was done here and what was done here. So it is not something that you have to constantly do. It is just in some cases. Okay. The next one is kerning. Kerning is not like tracking. Tracking is, say, the overall space between characters, which is called character spacing. Kerning is the space between specific characters. Unlike tracking, it varies over the course of the word because each letter fits together differently. I just told you that each letter has different spaces in between them. So those spaces are what is called kerning, like you see here. This space is different from this are even wider than this, right? So some fonts have proper kerning, so you would not need to adjust. Some other fonts have bad kerning, which means that you have work to do. But most times, don't stress about it. If you see a font that doesn't have a good kerning for you, just look for an alternative. There are millions and millions of options out there. In fact, don't say I told you this, but you could have 1,000 fonts on your system and only use 5. Yeah, but let's put it all together. You can see that these are 2 different combinations of fonts. So let's put it all together. A well-crafted text can mean the difference between something that's ordinary or something that's extraordinary. Yes. In a design, maybe you're done with the design. Now it's time to write the caption or write the copy or add the text to the design, right? How you put that text can affect the overall vibe or the overall look of the design. Even if you are just a beginner, the same thing is important. It's very important. You start to notice, just give your time into typography. I'm sure after today, you start noticing what typography and how it is all around, everything around you, from your house to your neighbor's door sign that says knock before you come in, or to the magazine, or the book on the shelf, or the movies you watch. You just start paying attention to all the typography now. Take a look at these examples. Sales report, Keys First Foundation. This one says you are invited. I mentioned that scripts, display, and serifs are used for stuff like that, invites. Now, these are very good examples. Innovate. I'm sure you see this everywhere. Now you are getting to understand what they mean when you go into an E3 and you are seeing calligraphy design all over the place, or you're seeing text written all over the place, or probably in an office where you worked before or where you currently work, or even in your house. Some people have these kind of things in their house, in their rooms. This one says it is not the length of life, but depth of life. You could already see the depth in the text. So typography is a very big deal. Typography is a very big deal. If, most times some people say image is 70% of the design and text is 30%. But I tell you this, if your image that is 70% is a very good image, and that text that is supposed to be 30% is not written well, that 70% is lost. Very possible. Typography is too important. Very, 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 very important. Do not joke with it. This is a book cover on the left. I'm sure if you look at it, you could see the title there. This thing called purpose. That's a play with typography. The other one here is integration, and you can see the people's faces in the different parts of the text, the letters. This is just typography posters, and you see how very, very good they are. Then this is more typography. Never. What? Are you saying that there's a problem there? I cannot read it properly. Never up gonna give you. What's that? Now, why is there a challenge there? Is the placement of the typography. You see, this is a very good design, but communication is lost. So that design has failed. Maybe you wanted to say never gonna give you up, and you put up there. But how would you be able to read that? Would you say never up gonna give you, or never gonna give you up? It doesn't make sense, right? See, this says never gonna let you down. See how they are playing with the arrangements and confusing us in the name of design. So this is showing you, do not fall victim of this kind of placement. You must have seen this in different kind of designs. Somebody is trying to do 4 days to go. And because the person wants to place the design like this, the person will place days to go on top of 4, trying to create a whatever kind of alignment. And if you ask them, they are reading 4 days to go. But you looking at it, you are seeing days to go 4. So you see, typography is important. And when you do it well, it commands authority. When you don't do it well, like we see right here, the message is lost and it becomes confusing. See this one, say, never gonna goodbye. See where they put say, Never gonna say goodbye. Why would say be up here? You see it, you get the idea now. Now, take a look at this. The poster on the left is one of my favorite typography posters. It's really nice. Life is like dominoes. One wrong move and everything you have worked for falls apart. This is already showing you that this person has already made the move and everything is already falling. Okay, so see the sports poster here. For those of you that watch football or those of you that come across stuff like this, this is a perfect example of long and short font options. Remember, I mentioned something about Bibas. The fonts used for La Liga, Premier League, Eredivisie, and Serie A is actually Bibas. Then the text used to write the names of the teams, which is looking like pro forma, So just the long and short combination, really. Let me see. I think I have one more. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this flyers. If you have questions so far with regards to typography, the floor is yours now. So you could raise your hand and I'll ask you to speak if you want to speak. If you want to type a question, you could go ahead and just type it. Okay, Matthew, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph.
Good morning,
We
Matthew.
really appreciate you for what you did yesterday, and you have started on a good note again. Now with
Thank
that,
you so
I can
much.
just photocopy what is in your brain or download it and just imbibe it in myself. I don't need to just go for this. Well, you are really doing
Okay,
a job. We really
that's
appreciate
very
you. Thank you.
interesting. Thank you.
My question
Okay.
is the letter on the left now, which is life is like dominoes once blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Does font come like this, or the person that did this? I'm sure it must be you. Maybe you had to arrange it for them to fall this way, or when you're doing or you could just search to just see what you want to. It gives
Oh,
you
okay,
this, or
okay.
thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for your question and your kind words. This poster on the left, okay, first of all, it's not done by me, but it was done manually. The fonts don't come like this. Fonts come like you see on the La Liga, Barcelona versus Madrid. They come in straight formats. To make this possible, you have to break the text into individual letters and then arrange them to fit into what you want. Okay, so this was done manually. There's no font that appears like this. Even if it appears like this, you still have to put in a little bit of work to get it into your desired state. Okay. Um, okay, Victor, go ahead. Victor, can you hear me? Victor, if you can hear me, unmute and go ahead. Okay, Shegun, please go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Yusuf.
Good morning, Shegun.
Okay, so the question I wanted to ask is,
Go on.
you mentioned that you can use one font. That's if you want to use font, you use a font. Then when you choose that font, you will now use varieties of that font. Is that
Yes.
the principle? Is that the principle of using fonts? or the silent rule of using fonts?
Okay, so it's not really a silent rule. It's an easy way out. In fact, it is not just the easy way out, it is the best practice, right? Because on a design, the number of fonts you should use should not be more than 3. Now, you might now have issues trying to combine those 3. So instead of struggling with combining 3 different fonts, pick one and use it in 3 different formats. Use it as bold, use it as regular, use it as italic. Do you get? So it is not a silent rule. It is a rule that actually helps you save the day and helps you save time and help you keep your design looking good as well. Okay. So Farinto says, how do we know the type of text to use? And Amina say, I honestly wonder how. You're welcome, Sheg. And Amina says, I wonder how. So I'm guessing Amina is in support of Farinto's question. Okay, Farinto, you're also raising your hand. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so let me answer that question before Ramson speaks. How do we know type of text to use? Remember, in the very early part of these slides, we mentioned that fonts have languages. They speak. They do speak. We say they speak different languages. And their language can be exotic, can be neutral, casual, or graphic. So now, depending on the message you want to pass, that is what informs the type of text to use. Is it a serious message? Go neutral. It is a romantic message? Go exotic. You want to tell somebody that you threaten me or you stole from me, I will find you, I will catch you, I will deal with you. Go graphic, right? And if you just want to send happy birthday to your nephew, just go casual. So you just need to understand that these things have languages, and what am I trying to communicate? Am I trying to communicate love? Look for a font that fits into that. Do you get? So that's it. I hope Amina and Titi Lokwe are clear. Okay, Ramson, you can go ahead.
All right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ramson.
Yes. Thank you. You are the image I want to ask question. No, innovate, sir.
Innovate. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
So my question on these images is sir, what kind of, is it CorelDRAW that we use to do this kind of topographic 3D image, or we are using maybe another software?
Okay, so we'll get into the softwares next week, right? But I can assure you that you can do this on any software. You can do this on CorelDRAW, you can do this on Adobe Illustrator, you can do this on Photoshop. So any software of your choice. You can do this on any software. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Victor, you've been raising your hand for a while, so go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Joseph. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Victor. You're welcome.
I wanted you to shed more light on the, I think the broad categories of font, where you talked about display, sans serif, and I think the script. So I was wondering, like when you're talking about fonts and their uses now, are we going to say, like maybe when it comes to display, type font. They are more graphic. The sans serif will be more formal types of fonts.
Okay, so display fonts are more graphic. Now, when I mean graphic, I don't mean the all scary graphic, right? It could be very beautiful graphic. It could be all fancy graphic. It could be very sweet looking romantic graphic. Do you get? And it could also be scary. So it depends on the message you want to pass, like I said earlier. That determines the kind of graphic or the kind of display fonts you use, right? So for a formal text, sans serifs are good. Serifs are also good. But serif speaks to more traditional and classical events. So if you're having an event, maybe a dinner night, serif can go for that. If it's a training on how to use Microsoft Office, you can use sans serif because it's formal, right? So you just have to know that this job or this project is serious, then you go and use it. A serious font, which is like a formal font, or this is casual, then you go ahead for casual, right? Thank you for that. Gani says, thank you for the opportunity and the lecture. Thank you, thank you. Says, please, in the use of display fonts, as you said, why is it that we cannot use it on all words we want to write? Remember, I gave you two examples I gave you two very good examples. I said, using it becomes too much. But if it's for a movie poster, you can use it for all your text. Like you see here, Battle of the Bands. You can use it for all your text. Or like the poster, Jagun Jagun. You can use it for all of that. But you cannot use it for the text yoga and still use it for every weekday, and then $6 to $7, $5 per class, it becomes too much to read. It becomes too heavy to actually read. And I don't think you would even you would even be glad to see it. You would not even allow it to pass to your system to anybody else. You don't want anybody to see it. So that's why. All right. Okay, Daniel, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Thank you for your lesson since yesterday. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. You're welcome.
The other speaker just asked similar questions. I want to ask the fonts. Like I know Verdana an official fonts, and I just want to know how would you know, or would you have been able to familiarize yourself with the usage of fonts over time to know which one is under these 4 categories that you mentioned, like for graphic, like for emotions, like for, and so on. Was it you that classified the fonts into these 4 categories, or how do we, learners be able to classify these things into, okay, this is what should fit into this, how to write and so on? Sure, you get.
I get you. Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I said you don't have to learn everything, right? Don't learn everything. Just take it a step at a time. For me, I've always been a big fan of typography, so I've always paid attention to type more. If I see type, I was always inquisitive. I wanted to know how come about it and everything. In fact, I'm in the process of creating my own font. So very soon you might see my font somewhere, right? But what I'm trying to say here is pick each and learn from time to time. And the more you use fonts, the more better you get at it. it's like learning on the job. It's like learning on the job. The more you do it, the more better it gets. So in picking fonts, put three things in mind. Forget all this sans serif, serif, and display. First of all, focus on the language, which is casual, neutral, exotic, graphic. Focus on those four languages and just ask yourself, okay, this project is for kids, which means that the language should be what? Casual. It's for kids. This project is for couples, which means it should be exotic because that gives the vibe of romantic, right? Oh, this is a movie about Ojuju Calabar. Go ahead and be graphic about it. Do you get? So you see the language that your project is trying to communicate. Remember, communication is the basics for graphic design. So when you're communicating, how do you communicate? With language. That language you're communicating with comes in these four aspects, helping you to pick the right font for each communication. I hope that's clear. All right, so Machi, you're up again. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I want to ask regarding the spacing in fonts, and
Okay.
I'm sure that those spacing come by default because I you know I write a lot, and I think there was a time I clicked on the font and I discovered that I like the font, but the spacing were too much. There were too much space between those letters. So I couldn't remember the font that I chose. So I think I had to now be doing them manually to correct. And I think later somebody now told me I could have just highlighted and then check on those fonts and see the one that will close the thing together. So when you pick a font that you like from those varieties, and you discover that the spacing since they come by default, the spacing are too much. That means you have to manually adjust it to what you want to use it for. Because you went to I think that should be italics that were closed. You open to a page, and maybe I use something that like that, and I love what I picked, but I want space to be there. That means I have to manually put those space to my own taste. Is it something that is possible, or because they are by default you can adjust it?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that these spaces, the tracking, the kerning, the leading, they all come by default. The fonts come in that way. And if it doesn't fit into what you want, you are at liberty to edit it. You are free to adjust it accordingly. Either adjust it close or adjust it wider or adjust it one by one by one by one. But you are at liberty to adjust any of them. They are very free to adjust. You don't need, there's no technique to adjusting it. It's just something you do. It's easy. It's in the setup on your software, right? So it's easy for you to adjust that. You can always adjust. Always, always. Okay, Ramsey, go ahead. Ramsey? Okay, I think his hand was raised from the first time. Okay, any more questions before we move into the next topic for today? Any more? We're going to go into the next session in a few minutes. Just any more things that you're not clear on. Damin says, thank you for the lecture. Please, how do we complement colors of a design to know the color we should put on our text? Okay. Damin, I want you to do me a favor. Hold on to this question because the next session is for color. So hold on to this question for me. When we're done with color, that will be the first question I will respond to. Is that okay? Thank you. So good. Thank you. So any other question? We're about to go into color. Ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go into it then. So since there's no more questions coming in. Okay, people, now.
Sorry.
Color.
Hey.
Who's that? Move out.
Yeah. I want to ask a simple question, sir. About
All right, go
the categories of fonts. You said the casual front is just to give message to kids and all those stuff, and the graphics is for maybe to fear someone or for movies. The exotic is for couples romantic message. Okay, so the neutral one, is it just communication? Maybe I can't really understand the message for the neutral.
Okay. So, okay, let me just answer that and also clear the air. So, the different languages that you see here, these examples, this neutral, exotic, graphic, casual, they are not fixed to those examples I gave. Like casual is not fixed to just for kids. Do you get? Exotic is not fixed to just for couples because it's romantic. Neutral is not fixed for just official communication. There are more examples in it. Maybe I want to talk to my friend. I mean, it's my friend. I just want to wish them a happy birthday. I can use casual. It's my friend. Remember the way it is written here, the other fonts might look different. The other fonts that pass this casual message, they will look different from these options you are seeing here. Hope you understand. And also, this one script here is also under the graphic category. This black letter is under graphic category. Let me even show you an example where I used it. This word terms here is under graphic category. Do you get? So the different fonts that help you communicate what you want, pick them. But remember that the message or the language that the font communicates is what is important for your audience and for your project. Is it clear now? So
all right.
Casual is to casual things. Just think about anything that's casual. Your communication with your friend, that's casual. Your what is it called? Your relationship with your spouse, that's exotic, that's romantic. And exotic can also be a luxury house, can also be a luxury event. Do you get? Graphic can be also fancy. Scary, I mentioned, I think it was to Matthew, I said it is not just, graphic is not only the scary type. This is just an example of graphic. They're just trying to show you what it looks like. Okay? So it could be fancy, it could be playful, it could be neutral, and it could be as very sweet looking as this. Depends on the language. Okay? All right. Okay, so moving on, we are entering into the space of color. Everybody's wondering, color. Guess what? Our eyes, the way we see things in color. And in fact, wherever you are right now, if you look around, I'm sure there are numbers of colors everywhere. Numbers of colors everywhere around you, if you look around. Even on my screen, I have quite a number of colors here. If you open your WhatsApp, there are numbers of colors from different DPs of different people, you know? So, what is color? Or why do we need color? Or is color necessary? Or can we do without color? Truth is no, we cannot do without color. The people that do without color are the people that are blind, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to be blind. So skip that. Now, there's such a beautiful thing called color theory. Because color plays a vital role in design and in our everyday life, which I already just told you, it can draw your eye to an image. Remember the example of emphasis I gave. You walk into a walkway and you look down, you see a red frame. That's the first thing you see. Color, draw your attention. Color can trigger emotion as well when you communicate. Color can also communicate importance. So you see, color plays a very big role. Maybe you finish a design and everything is just white and black. If you start adding touch of color, you just start seeing that you've added emphasis, you've created contrast. Color plays a major role. It is so important. In fact, that is why you see typography and color are in the same space, because they are as important as they are both necessary for each other. Now, so of course, color is important. Now I know the question now is, how do we know which color looks good together and which color do not? The simple answer is what? Color theory. See how important color is, though. You are going out tomorrow. Today, you're already planning which clothes to wear. In your planning of which clothes to wear, you are planning which color for the top and which color for the bottom. In that planning, you're still planning, should I go with my brown shoe, red shoe, green shoe, purple shoe? In all of that, you are thinking black cap, blue cap, red cap, color again, right? Even looking at creating a slide, creating a document, you are still thinking color. You are stepping out of your house or you go to the market. Some people like green pepper, some like red pepper, color is even inside your food. Some people will not eat certain food. They say, there's no color. Right, but you looking at how to put all of this together, color theory plays a major role for you, right? Color theory plays a major role for you. Now, as artists and designers alike, what we do to make this easy for us or to make it work really is the use of color theory. You cannot get it wrong with using color theory. Because it helps you feel confident in many different situations. Whether it is choosing color for a design or putting together a perfect outfit, like I said. So it is that important. Then, color basics. You are thinking, okay, so how do I understand what are the necessary things for color and all of that? Let's start from the beginning, right? Which is the basics. I'm sure everybody here knows primary color, secondary color, and tertiary color. True or false? True or false? I want to see your response in the chat. Everybody knows primary. True. Exactly. Everyone knows primary, tertiary.
So, primary colors, I think they are red, blue, and green.
Yeah. Very exactly. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Thank you. Okay, so let's keep it going. Right? Primary colors, which is red, blue, yellow. Secondary colors are made up of colors that are gotten from mixing the primary colors, right? If you mix red and yellow together, you get the secondary color orange. If you mix yellow and blue together, you get the secondary color green. If you mix blue and red together, you get the secondary color purple, right? So these are the basics. These are the basics of color. Yes. Correct. Oh, somebody said not everybody. No problem. You find out now. At least now you know it. So let's keep going. Now, these are what the color wheel. I'm sure you heard the word color wheel as well. So how does the color wheel work is if we mix the primary and secondary colors that we just talked about together, we will even get more options in between them, right? Now, those options in between them gives you like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, bluish green, you know, all together they form what is called a color wheel. A color wheel is just exactly what you see on the image here. That's what a color wheel is. Just exactly what you see here. Now, let's take a closer look to color. So remember, we just talked about the basics, the primary color, secondary colors, right? And then color wheel. Now, there's a word called hue, H-U-E, is the easiest one. It's basically just another word for color. So instead of saying color, you can say hue. But guess what? Everybody knows it as color. Only a few people in the creative space knows it as hue. So don't go and tell your painter that wants to paint your room and say, "Oga, I don't like this hue." He will just be wondering what you're saying. Do you get? Or you go and tell don't just use the anyhow to people who are not in your field, okay? Anyway, so in the example, you can see this is red or coral pink or light red, whichever. But this is what is called a hue. This is what a hue is. This is what a hue is, right? Now, another interesting one is saturation. Saturation is just intensity, in other words. So whether the color appears more bright or more dark, that's what saturation does. So subtle or vibrant. Did I say more dark? Sorry. Subtle or vibrant. Because when a color is highly saturated, it's very bright. And when it's subtle or really low in saturation, it's almost going into black and white, right? Highly saturated colors are brighter and richer. Then desaturated colors have less pigment and therefore the less oomph. They just have less vibrancy. That's what that means. Okay, so it is either it's highly saturated or it is what? Desaturated. I'm sure you understand what that means. To desaturate means it's almost going into black and white. Okay. Now, value, yes. Value is the one that goes all the way to white and all the way to black. It is just showing you how dark a color is or how light a color is. That's why we have light pink and dark pink is the result of value. Okay. Now, there's such a thing as color schemes. Color schemes are created from the different color wheels that we have. I'll show you what I mean. How do we put all of this together? to create a good color scheme. They are actually tried and true formulas based on something called color harmony. I know you might be wondering, we have heard color theory, color wheel, color scheme, now color harmony. All these things, don't worry yourself. They are not dramatic for you, okay? Now, color harmony is just using the color wheel. Remember, harmony, like we mentioned in the principle, unity says is just bringing all the elements together to coexist in harmony, to look good together. Same thing, right? This is how it works. This is how you harmonize color. First formula is called monochromatic. As the name implies, the word mono stands for one. So monochromatic is just a single color scheme. So now red. So what do you do to get these other scheme, these other colors around it? All you just need to do is use the saturation or value to give it this. That's for the monochromatic color, right? You can use the knowledge of saturation or value to get this, to create this. All right. Then the next formula is analogous. It's just like the word analog, right? So it picks three colors that are side by side from the color wheel. As you can see here, blue, green, and a darker blue. In other words, it is just blue and green, right? So you can add more saturation to some parts and make it brighter or darker, or add value, same thing. That's how you get this, right? It is that easy. Then there's this another formula for analog. So this is another formula here. This is the same blue and green. So you see what I told you now. This has different saturation compared to this. You see? Then complementary. Complementary are colors that are directly opposite of each other. Remember, in typography, we talked about opposites attract, which is what you're seeing here. Complementary, red and green. Complementary, we twist that now. Let's do some practical session. Let me show you something. Complementary, see, purple and yellow. It's complementary. Complementary could be orange and blue. It's complementary. Yellow and burgundy. Complementary. Right? That's how complementary works. See another example. Well, the difference in these examples are just vibrance and saturation and value, which gives it high vibrance or reduced or desaturated, right? That's what you see. Then this is split complementary, which means two fonts on either side of the complement. This gives you same level of contrast as the complementary color, but it just adds more color to the equation. So if we do this two comes to gray, or this two goes to yellow. You see? Same thing applies. If you say this two, it will just come straight down to this guy here. Do you get it? Now, you might be asking yourself in your head, do I have to now have a color wheel to be able to pick color for each project, or would I be going through this stress for each project? I'll give you a trick, but I'm coming. Okay? This is triadic. Triadic is from the word triangle. So like you see the three sides, helping you to helping you to pick colors from 3 different sides. This is the perfect example. I'm sure most of us know this character, the Joker. You can see that the Joker was not just wearing any colors. He was straight in selecting his colors. These are colors on the color wheel. So those were not color blocking, according to how some people would say it. Those were not color blocking, carrying colors that don't match. No. Those are very spectacular examples of color, as you see it. So the same thing applies. You just go triangle on any of the colors here, you get a very good example to work with. It depends on the colors, the language, because color also communicates. So it depends on what you want to communicate that also picks color. That's how you can pick a good color for that. These combinations tend to be pretty striking, especially when they include primary or secondary colors. Yes, but you have to be mindful when using them in your work so that you don't have too much colors on your page, right? Then tetradic just talks about a rectangle. So if you put a rectangle on the color wheel, this is what you get. Now, and you would not be using all the colors in the same quantity per se. Put them in a 60, or should I say 50, 20, 20, 10. Or you do 60, 30, 10, just put them like that. So you pick one color that takes the last chunk of your design. You pick another color that complements it and use one for accent. When I say accent, it just means that if this entire page is black, let me give you an example. I think I have a black page here. Good. You see these colors on top of the screen, that top part of the artboard. If I reduce the artboard a bit and I make it another color from what we have on this entire page, that becomes an accent, right? Like this, that we have the dark page and color harmony is taking the same color. That's the main color. I'm coming, I'll show you. Okay, I'll show you an example anyway, but let's just round this up quickly. Okay, so any 4 color, you can always turn the rectangle this way. You can always turn it this way to still give you a tetradic. You can also turn it this way to still give you a tetradic formula. So it's not static that it has to be the way you're looking at it horizontally. It's not, okay? So, okay, look at what I was saying. This formula works best if you let one color dominate while others serve as accents. The one dominating here is the blue, the deep blue, and the other ones are just little touches. Now, avoiding common mistakes. You might be saying, okay, now I know how to pick colors and I want to pick these colors, or I'm ready to just use all the bright colors, right? That might be a very big mistake. So to avoid those mistakes, which is why I want to show you this. Tell me if this is good to go. In the chat box, let me see your reaction. This very bright blue and this very bright red. Is it good to go? Does it look good in your eyes? Talk to me. No, it's not good, right? So tell me why it's not good. Apart from telling me that it's not good, tell me why. Why? Why do you feel it's not good? It's too bright. Exactly. Oh, somebody says it's painful to read. I see. Okay. It's too bright. They are both very bright. Both colors are bright colors. Both colors are not blending. The red is supposed to be a little dark. Somebody says shouting. It is disturbing to the eye. All right, let me take it off before it does something to your eyes. But what I'm trying to tell you here is the solution is adjusting the lightness or darkness, and then you get this. You see? You can tell the difference now. Color saturation is much. Yes. This is much better indeed, Amina. Yes, it's better. I agree. I agree. You can look at it with calmness. You can look at it. If you keep looking at the previous one too much, you might probably have to borrow my glasses for a while. But yeah, this is good. So what happened here? This red and blue are complementary of each other, right? But one has to be dark and one has to be bright. If not, we'll have what we have here. So that was fixed, and that's how we got here. Now, this is another example. This is a website. I'm sure if I say which website would you visit out of the two, everybody will tilt towards the left. True or false? Will you tilt towards the left or the right? The one on the left is the very colorful one. Used to say lie. Oh, so you go to the right, right. You see, everybody shouting right. Of course, simply because the colors are minimal and they blend very well together, right? The one on the left, in fact, you cannot even read it properly. Even the word welcome is almost disappearing. It looks like a disaster waiting to happen. The left looks like color riot. That is what I'm talking about. That is why you have to pick the specific colors and use the color wheel to know the exact colors to use, right? Now, this is where it gets interesting because I know this is what everybody's waiting for. You are not really interested in the color theory, color wheel, color harmony, color this, color scheme, color that. Your concern is, after all of this now, how do we choose the right color? Well, Joseph is here to help you. So, to choose the right color, remember to play it safe and remember the formulas that we talked about. Start to remember monochromatic, analogous, complementary, tetradic, triadic. I think that's 5, right? Tetradic, triadic, complementary, analogous, and monochromatic. So those are 5 formulas. So when choosing the right color, depending also on the right communication. For color, typography uses language, color uses tone, but they both say the same thing. It's just the same thing. Just trying to tell you that if it is a project for kids, or let's use the example we see here, if it's a project for a hair studio, you cannot use the color of this financial institution for an hair studio. Neither can you, vice versa, use the fashion colors for the financial one, right? So you just know bright colors, they give a vibe of fun because everybody wants fun when they are coming to an S studio. You don't want to come to an S studio where everything is strict, strict, strict. You'll be like, who's this person touching my hair? Remove your hand. And the desaturated color options often appear more serious. Yes, and business-like, which is what you see on the right-hand side here. So now I know you want to say the language of the project determines the colors to pick, right? So how do we go about it instead of going to the color wheel and looking to pick the colors that would work for us, or trying to create a color scheme over and over and over and over and over? There are many ways to find inspiration. So you could get color schemes from everywhere. I can decide to get color scheme from the shirt I'm wearing, or I could get color scheme from a flyer, or from an artwork, or from a garden, right? Or from anything. I know you are still thinking, would I have to go to the garden to get color again? Joseph, no. There are websites that can help you to get to have already made color schemes for your project. But remember, the reason for this is for you to understand that colors have languages and colors have emotions. Red speaks danger. Red talks about love as well, right? Red. Black will talk about luxury. Black talks about class. Black also talks about night, darkness, right? White goes for purity. White will also talk about neat. White will also talk about vibrancy. So you just need to know that these colors have these emotions. So whatever project I'm working on, what emotion do I want to communicate with this? That's after you've thought about the language you want to communicate and the text, the type of typography to go with it, of course. Then you come into color. So now, like I said, there are websites that can help you choose, that can help you generate color palettes already. There are websites that can generate color palettes for you. In fact, there are mobile apps on your phone that you can even use, right? There is, I'll show you a few websites that you can use. I'll also send a few to you as well. So you can use a web resource to browse color palettes. In fact, I mentioned Pinterest earlier. You can also get color palettes on Pinterest. Experienced designers often take inspiration from the world around them. There's nothing wrong with finding something you like and making it your own. In this example, you can see that the color palette selected here is what is used for this flyer. And you see the way it was used is more of the blue, a little more of the yellow, and touch of red, then the green as an accent, which is why it's just here. That's how it works. Now, look at this. You can also get color combination for your outfits. Maybe that party you're going for tomorrow, or maybe for this class, you know. Color is everywhere. And these options are also everywhere as well. So you could easily pick options to use for them, right? Okay, so before we go into questions, three things I need you to remember is, one, The color wheel is created from the combination of the primary and secondary colors. That's where you get the color wheel. Then remember saturation and value, right? Which is how dark or how light a color is, or how subtle or vibrant the color is, highly saturated or desaturated. Now, then, of course, the color scheme, which is the third thing. Remember the formulas, monochromatic. So even in your research, maybe on one of the websites that you check, remember to also decide, am I going for monochromatic, or am I going for analogous, or am I going for complementary? So let me show you people two websites first where you can get. Okay, I'm sure you can see my screen. This is a website called Kulos. Here you can find ready-made color palettes for you. Let me turn off the dark reader. Okay. Here you can find existing palettes, like you see. Can you see? Good, good, good. Okay. So you can see the palettes. So you can pick any one from here and use for your project. This is an example of a monochromatic color scheme. These color palettes are all called color schemes. These are all color schemes. So this, you can see, this is complementary. See? Like that. If you pick one from here, you can check which category they fall into. So let's look for monochromatic, right? Monochromatic, we have this blue here. This is monochromatic, right? No, you didn't spell it correctly. It's called Kulos. Cool, LORS.co. That's the website right there. Oh no. Cool, then ORS.co. Yes, that is it. So now let's look for one that looks exactly like analogous, right? If you see it, let me know, okay? We're looking for analogous. Good. This is red, purple, and blue. That's analogous. Red, purple, and blue. These are the three of them here. That's analogous, right? complementary. Let's look for complementary. That's colors that are directly opposites of each other. Red or green or yellow and purple. So blue and yellow too are also complementary. Blue and yellow are also complementary. Okay? Blue and yellow, see them on opposite sides. They are complementary year to year. Sorry. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Let's look for one that is okay. Tell me, what can you see right now on the screen? What can you see right now? Okay, you can see my slide. Okay. Okay, you can see the website now, right? Good. All right. So yes, okay. So I want to show you the options that I picked. So this year is is complementary, facing directly each opposite. This year is analogous, red, blue, and purple. This right here is monochromatic, and we keep going. This looks so there are options here. Interesting thing about this website is you could create yours. You can actually create yours. Okay, so if you don't want to search, you could just create yours. Watch. Start generator. When I do this, so I can generate, sorry, when I do this, I can generate any color I want just by tapping on my spacebar. See, this is, are you seeing? So it gives you monochromatic, it gives you analogous, it gives you complementary, it gives you triadic, tetradic, all the kinds of color schemes, but with other colors that will blend with it for you. That's what it does. This is what it does. Now, another website you could look up to or you look out for is Color Hunts. Now, Color Hunt is a bit different from Coolors. What Color Hunt does for you is it already has, just like Coolors have, you already made, but you can decide to search. So let's say I want green. I will just do green, and it will just bring out options for green. All right. Let's say I want green and purple. It will bring out both of them. See, green and purple. So you can easily pick colors from places like this. You don't have to go ahead and start looking for colors yourself. You can easily pick out the kind of colors you want for your project, and the examples continue like that. See them over and over and over and over, right? So depending on the project that you want to do, select. And you can select more than two, remember. See, or you can say you want Christmas, it gives you options for Christmas. See it right here. Say you want, let's look for something else. Kids. And you have all of these options, right? Okay, so that makes two websites that I've given to you guys now.
Sorry, Mr. Can you, sorry, I have to just quickly copy so that before you leave, can you put something like wedding? Let's see what color you give us.
All right, seems like somebody's planning to get married. No problem. Let's get wedding for you. Wedding. See? So, okay. So now let's get into questions. Timothy says, how do you select a color for that fits a project? So when I'm saying all of these things, you people, right? One of the things I mentioned is tone of message, right? Tone of message, emotion of the project, emotion of the message. Because each project is meant to communicate. So communicate what? You want the project to communicate love. Of course, colors are free. Colors are free. Colors are everywhere. Colors are free, right? So each project is communicating a message. That message, what is the language? What is the tone of that message? Did I say tone? What is the tone, rather? What is the tone of that message? What is the language? What is the emotion? These are what makes you a designer. You have to put all those things into perspective. You are the one thinking in that direction. All of those things help you to know what kind of color that goes with any project. And the second thing that helps you is what? Research. Let me show you something else again. Come this way. So I know I mentioned Pinterest. So I want to show you how Pinterest works. So I say green color scheme. Watch. Can you see? This is how Pinterest works. Pinterest shows you, I will get to that right away. That means your messages are coming to direct message. I want you to be sending it so that every other person can see. Do you get? All right, thank you. So this is Pinterest. Helps you with different options. In fact, it shows you more real life options. See, these colors are coming from this, these colors are coming from this, these colors from this, and the likes. And you keep saying that. So let's say wedding. Since wedding is the wedding color scheme. Dish. See them right there. See? Can see the colors. In fact, it's even giving you picture options. Want to buy a brown suit, a blue suit, see everything you need here. So that's Pinterest for you. So that's where you get more color options. Okay, so now Damin asked a very good question, saying, where does what does those codes, the codes on the colors, what do they mean? The codes on the colors. Let me bring them out so that it's a bit closer for everybody to see. This FE4A49 2B blah 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 blah. So those are X codes. Are you seeing? Those are X codes. So every color on the color wheel or on the color spectrum has X codes. Those codes is what make it easy for you to be able to pick a certain color in your design software. When you start the practical classes on Monday and you want to pick color in any of the software, you see these codes. If the code changes, the color changes. Watch. If it changes, it changes. Do you see that? Can you see? I hope you can see that. Good. Once the code changes, the color changes. Now let me write a different code. Watch. The color has changed. Once it's changing, the code is changing. Once the color is changing, watch. Look at the codes. Look at the codes changing. Are you seeing it? You see that? Good. So that's how it works. Okay. Okay, Muftal, let me hear your question. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So my question, I have two questions to ask. The first question is, using these sites, all the sites you give to us, are we subscribing? Are we subscribing on it before we can use it, or subscription or to premium, all those stuff to get a certain color we want? That's my first question. The second question is, all these sites, I think we are going to practice, we are going to make use of the practical aspect during our practical section. Okay. So that's the two questions I want to ask. So you can answer the second question, sir.
Okay, so the first question is, most of these sites are free. Simply because, I mean, colors are everywhere. Why do I have to pay for, But if you encounter a website that is disturbing you to pay, just go to Pinterest. Pinterest is entirely free. Pinterest is entirely free, right? So for the second question, the practical aspect of selecting colors will be shown to you in the practical classes, of course, right? So yeah. Gani says, please come again on the codes. So the codes majorly are what represents the colors. Every color, every scheme, every shade, every tone, every value has a code. See where this highlighter is up here. If I bring it down here, the code is changing. Are you saying the code is changing? As I'm bringing it down, the code changes. As it goes down, as the value changes, the code changes. The value has gone all the way to black. As the value increases, the code changes. It goes all the way to white. Same thing for the saturation. In fact, this is a perfect example of saturation. So this is saturation. Saturation is this horizontal line going all the way here or all the way right. Then value is from up, down, all the way high or all the way low. Okay? So I hope you're clear on the codes now. As the color changes the code, because each color has its own code, and each tone, each shade has a code. Shades. Code is changing like that. Good. Thank you. Okay. Jesubori, go ahead with your question.
All right. Thank you for the knowledge shared, sir.
You're welcome.
So I wanted to know, you've shown us how to get the colors, but how seamless is it getting it into our into the work point that is where we're designing? So take for instance, we are working making our design on Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, like you mentioned. So how do we get this color from here? Is it as seamless as copy the color itself? Is there like somewhere we need to click there, then go to our workbook and just paste it blue and it's, push, it just work like that? Or is it like we need to copy the code and then there will be a section at our workbook there where we're going to insert the code and it's going to give us the color? I want to know how seamless, how easy it is, getting the color we are seeing here on this website
into the software, right? That's a very thoughtful question, right? So, it is as seamless as copying this code and going to your design software. Because so you see the way this color pop-up here is, it is the same on every design software. This thing, every design software has it. And every design software has this option as well. So when you copy a code, when you open your color selection on your software, you can always paste it. It is as easy as that. Another option is to download this image into your design software and use Picker to pick the colors. It's that easy. Ganiyu says, how do we determine a code for a color we want to use? So the code is not determined by you. It is default. It comes with the colors. Okay. So if you now say, oh, this shade of green, I don't like it. I want this shade of green. You see the code is different. You just copy that different shade of green. Or this shade is what I like. You copy that shade. It's that simple. You see, it's really easy. All right. Shegun, your hands has been raised for a while. Ask your question, please.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, how do we distribute value or the proportion in a color palette? If you remember, one of the thing that you taught in one of the slides is like, if you remember that flyer of a dog, where you distribute more of the yellow to the dog, a little bit of the maybe green. Yeah, this one. So now, when we now go to the color palette, if you go to that like colors.
That website, yeah.
Okay, so you see that visually all the boxes are like equal. So
yes.
Now, when we want to work practically, I don't know, maybe this question will be in the practical class now, but I'm just trying to see if it can be answered. So how do we now determine that, okay, is the dog that will take more, or is the background that will take less, and all of that from the palette? I don't know if I communicated the question well.
Yes, I get you. So let me make it very, very easy for you, right? You can see this is an example right here. This is an example right here, tetradic.
Yes.
It says this formula works best if you let one color dominate while others serve an accent. So the question to you now is which color option is best that can dominate? Let me take you back to the website. Which color option is best and can dominate? Would you want the background of your design to be red? You say, So you want it to be ghost white? You say, okay, sounds like it. Then ghost white dominates, and red, green, blue becomes accent.
Okay. So now, basically, when we go to the website, we have the pellet there. Now it's now
up to you,
on me, as a designer,
yes,
to choose the formula I want to apply.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you can also try checking for that option online. You can see something really. Everything is online these days. So somebody somewhere
to have an
might have,
idea.
yes, somebody somewhere might have asked this question before, and they feel like, why can I not just put this thing out there for other people to check? Do you get? So, all right. Matthew, go ahead, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Matthew, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mine is not a question, it's just also a contribution to people that are asking questions about the code. The code is just
good.
like, when you want to recharge your, I think now they have all this network have unique code now. I know those want to load your recharge card, there's a code that you need to put to recharge MTN for MTN or Glo. So I think those codes are just what will make you pick the color that you want to pick when you go there. So that when you just know the code that you're looking for, when you pick the code, is the thing that you want to use that you are picking. That's what I just want to control.
Thank you. Let me give you another example. You see the way I typed in CC9933. I already know this code, and it gives me gold. I know that this code is Shane Gold, see, and it gave it to me. If I move up here, this is Harvest Gold. This is ECA71D. Don't stress yourself by trying to cram the codes, please. Okay? Because somebody's thinking I have to cram the codes. You do not. You do not have to. Okay? So the codes are everywhere for you. In fact, I think that's the only code I can remember, apart from the FFFFF that's white and the 0000 that's black, and probably C3 that's gray, So don't stress yourself by keeping these codes in your head. Okay. All right. Israel says he's a software engineer. He has a problem picking colors for websites and some other things. There are some particular colors that are general to use in website apps and others. Okay, so that's not a question, but I'm sure, Israel, you are clear on how to pick colors now, so you can do very good websites in your job and in your future projects. Okay. Okay. Adeokun, go ahead.
Oh, good morning.
Okay. Oh, good morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the class.
You're very
Really
welcome.
enjoyed the class. I have a question actually.
Go on.
Just like we have this color. Let's say you want to use the color, maybe 99FX00. That's the color code. Then you need, let's say, the analog of that color, or you want to put the complementary of that color. So you only have just this one color, and you want to create a complementary of it. So how do we go about it?
That is a profound question. I like it. And the way to go about it is very simple. So you see this website right here. It is the perfect place to come when you encounter such roadblock, right? Now I've typed in that color code that you mentioned into this place, which is this now. This is the color code, right? What you do is you can see that there's a lock option. So I lock this and I keep searching. It will now be bringing other color options that will blend with that. See? Are you seeing? You see? If I see another color that I like, I lock it up and keep searching. See another one that I like, lock it up, keep searching. If I like this one, lock it up and keep searching for the last one till I get it. And I'm saying, okay, these are the colors that work, or these are the colors that work, or these are the colors that work. With this color, just by having one color. Do you get it now?
Yes, sir. I get it now. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Ramsing, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I'm listening.
Yes, sir. My network earlier went down, so I don't know. Maybe so.
Oh, okay,
My
okay.
question is, because I know we are not. I know that we are not doing our design on either Pinterest or all these color
Of course.
websites that would. So my question is, if maybe we see a particular color that we want to use, how do we now apply it to our design on the software that we are using?
Oh, okay. I think you were not here when someone asked earlier, but
yeah, okay.
So I'll just repeat the answer in a non-verbatim manner, but it is simple. These codes that you see here, you can easily copy the code and take it to your design. It's that easy. It's either you press copy or you type it out yourself and you can use it. Or you save this image or take a screenshot of the page, see the camera, say create from photo. You could paste an image here, it will give you whichever way you want it. So it's easy, just copy the code and take it to your design. You're good. All right, Matthew, go ahead. You're welcome, Ramsey. Matthew, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Joseph. I'm blessed to be part of this training, and
Thank you.
I pray that after this training, I want to be one of the best graphic designer. Maybe after you are a
It's
boss now.
doable. No, you can be better than me, of course, and there's room for overtaking.
But I'm really enjoying. But what I want to ask, because I've done, deals with a lot of graphic designers, where they will tell you that, with the base color, which is the background color, the color that must be on it must be, it shouldn't be too much of other colors, so that when they want to go and print, you are not going to be, maybe I'm going faster now, so that when they want to print, it will not be like the printers are looking for different color to combine. So your base should always complement the other color that is going to come out. So let's say your background is blue, and then they will always want to work on the shade of maybe blue or red that is closer to it, so that when they want to go into printing, they are not going to be having difficulties in getting those color for printing. So when we are picking the colors from this code, does it mean that those color that we are picking from where we are picking those code
I think your network
are
is a bit
already
bad. Can't hear
embedded
you.
in those are they already embedded, but we have to combine those colors together so as to also make sure that we are not going outside what we need to. Okay, like what we have on this page now.
Go on. Okay. So I get what you're saying clearly. So it's very simple. It's first of all, colors. Remember, did I mention RGB and CMYK? I don't think I did that, but you find that out in the practical classes, of course. But in printing, when you're designing for print, you don't have to decide what kind of colors to pick. You pick your colors I'm sure you can hear me.
You went offline. I think you're back now. We can hear you.
So I said in printing, you don't have to decide, oh, what color to use and all that. Just switch between RGB and CMYK. RGB is majorly used for screen colors. CMYK is majorly used for printout colors. The difference between the two is one allows for seamless print, the other gives a bit of an issue. But in the modern age where we are, both of them are good to go for print, except you're using a printer that still prints with tools from the 80s, right? But yeah, you get more of that in the practical class. Dami, you asked a question earlier that I said you should keep for me. Please bring that question back. Where is that question again? You said, okay, Dami said, how do we complement colors of a design to know the color that will be put on the text, right? That's marrying typography and color together. So let me help you out here. Just look at what we have on the screen, like this design, this flyer here. The background is blue. Obviously, the easiest color to pick for your text is white because it will be readable, to be easy to see, right? Or a brighter shade of blue can also be visible here. Or a lighter shade of green, which you see here, can be visible. Or this yellow used on this dog can also be visible on blue. That is why it was used, as you can see. Now, you see this red is used for a shape and the white is on top of it. If it was the shape, the text that was red, it might actually become an issue. That is why this option came out. All right. So that's how it works. How do you merge two colored backgrounds together? I think looking at this image here, you can even see that it is combined. But then again, that question is more of a practical question than a theoretical one. But you could just merge, you could just go monochromatic. So a lighter version of the color and a darker version. Like you see here, where the dog is as a darker version of the blue than where the other texts are. Right? So Gani, you go ahead and ask your question. Oh, Amina, hold on. Just after Gani, you asked. Sorry, I didn't see your hand early. Oh yeah.
Hello.
Gani, let's go.
Hello. Hello. Thank you very much for the lectures and thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome, sir.
What I wanted to add is that in choosing colors, like you have said, I see a situation whereby somebody probably wants to do a party and says, this is the color we took.
I can hear you. Can you?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay. I can hear you now. Go ahead.
What if your customer says, for this party, this is the color we chose? And those colors are not the complementary colors. There are two distinct colors, and they want them to be on whatever you are printing. How do you now determine, how do you put it into this construction? Let's say somebody chose probably green and yellow stuff and all those things. Because I know people usually do that. This is what I took for my party, and that's what I want my invitation to be like. So when they do that,
I get the question, right? So you have to first of all look at the color wheel and ask yourself, are these colors, do they fall for complementary, or analogous or monochromatic? Because I'm sure there is no color you pick on this wheel that does not have a complementing color. So if that happens, right, that the person picks a color that is sort of not complementary, what you can do as the designer is to get the right saturation or the right value for that color. See, this is what happens. The right saturation or the right value. Saturation is either it's too light or it's too is almost black and white or is too vibrant. Value is either white or black or the color, like when any of those, how dark the color is. So if the person is saying dark red, then you know that, okay, dark red or is bright red. So you can easily tell which color blends with that from the color palettes that you have seen. Okay. Amina, go ahead with your question, please. And I think that might be the last question for today. Go on.
Thank you very much, sir, for the beautiful session. So my question is, you told us the other time that we could find inspirations on Pinterest. So if, for example, I want to maybe make a flyer, for instance, and I go on Pinterest and I kind of see a flyer that kind of resonates with the color and all. So, and I don't know the code, the color code of that particular, the code of that color. So is there maybe a software that can help me, detect the codes of those colors? Yeah, that's my question.
Okay. That's a good one. So it's two ways. You can carry that image into your design software and you can pick the colors from it. You see that in the practical class, of course. Also, you can bring it to a site like this and you can upload the image. I'm trying to do that so that you see. Let me upload something for you. Let's do this guy. So I'm uploading the guy, and I want to get all the colors from this picture, right? Maybe the design. This is how it's going to be. When I upload it now, you can see the colors from it. These are the colors from it. See, are you seeing? You can see that. You see?
Yes, sir.
You see? You can even pick more to add. See? I'm adding more. See? So when I say next.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. So this is the color from that image. This is the color palette from the image. And yep, that is it. So thank you very much, everyone. That will be where we draw the curtain. So tomorrow, we will talk about how to put all of this into some more beautiful perspective. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time and
may God bless
the lesson.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate the class.
Thank you very much, sir.